Listen carefully. That is not music. That is not a bird. That is a man sending a sentence across a volcanic valley. On the island of La Gomera, in Spain's Canary Islands, people learned to do something that sounds almost impossible. They turned Spanish into whistles. A farmer could stand on one ridge, put his fingers in his mouth, and tell someone kilometers away that the goats had escaped, dinner was ready, or help was needed. No phone, no radio, no internet, just breath, fingers, and a language sharp enough to fly over mountains. This is Silbo Gomero, the whistled speech of La Gomera. It sounds like bird song, but to the people who understand it, it is not bird song at all. It is a message. And the strangest part? This ancient mountain language almost disappeared. Then schools brought it back. Today, children on the island are learning the same whistles their great-grandparents once used to talk across ravines. This is the story of the language that turned human speech into sound waves with wings. To understand Silbo Gomero, you first have to understand La Gomera. This is not a flat, easy island. It is a small volcanic island carved by deep ravines, steep ridges, and valleys that cut through the land like cracks in broken glass. Two houses might look close on a map, maybe only 2 or 3 kilometers apart in a straight line, but on foot, that short distance could mean climbing down hundreds of meters into a ravine, crossing the bottom, and climbing all the way back up the other side. A quick visit could turn into a 2-hour hike. So the people of La Gomera found a better solution. They did not walk. They whistled. Imagine your Wi-Fi dies, your phone has no signal, and your backup plan is screaming like a kettle across a volcano. That was not a joke here. That was infrastructure. Before group chats, La Gomera had group whistles. A normal human voice spreads out in many messy frequencies. It gets swallowed by wind, cliffs, trees, and distance. A whistle is different. It's narrow, it's piercing, it cuts through the landscape. And in the open ravines of La Gomera, a strong whistle can travel much farther than ordinary speech. That's why Silbo Gomero worked so well. It was not just louder, it was better shaped for the island. The land created the problem. The human body became the technology.
But this is where the story gets even stranger. Because Silbo is not just random whistling. It is not a secret signal like 1 whistle for danger and 2 whistles for dinner. It is a way of carrying real Spanish sentences across the mountains. You can whistle names. You can whistle instructions. You can whistle warnings. You can whistle things as ordinary as "come over here" and as urgent as "there is a fire." In daily life, people often used short messages, but the system was flexible enough to carry far more than a few simple signals. It was mountain texting, except the battery was your lungs. So how do you turn a spoken language into a whistle? Silbo Gomero is not a separate language from Spanish. It is a whistled form of Spanish. Think of it like taking spoken words and compressing them into pitch, rhythm, breaks, and sharp changes in tone. When you speak, your mouth creates vowels and consonants. When you whistle Silbo, you cannot pronounce those sounds in the normal way. You only have a thin stream of air. So the language has to be transformed. Vowels become different whistle tones. Consonants become interruptions, attacks, stops, and changes in pitch. The melody carries information. The breaks carry information. The rhythm carries information. To someone who does not understand it, Silbo sounds like a bird having a very intense conversation. But to a trained listener, those rising and falling whistles are words. Take a simple Spanish greeting like hola. In speech, you hear the shape of the mouth, the vowels, and the soft consonant. In Silbo, that shape becomes a movement between tones. Not the same sound, but the same message. That is the genius of it. Silbo does not copy Spanish perfectly, sound by sound. It recodes it. It turns speech into something that can survive a canyon. And the physical technique is not easy. Whistlers often curl their tongue, place one or more fingers in their mouth, and shape the air into a powerful, piercing tone. The position of the fingers matters. The shape of the mouth matters. The strength of the breath matters. Too soft, and nobody hears you. Too messy, and nobody understands you. Master whistlers can control pitch, rhythm, and volume with incredible precision. Up close, it can be painfully loud. Across a valley, it becomes clear. For centuries, this was one of the island's most useful tools. Shepherds used it to coordinate across mountains. Farmers used it to call to neighbors. Families used it to pass messages between scattered homes. And in emergencies, a whistle could move faster than any person could run. Fire, injury, a missing animal, a boat in trouble. In a place where walking across the valley could take hours, a whistle could arrive in seconds.
But then the modern world arrived. Roads were built, telephones spread. Young people left the villages for cities, mainland Spain or the Americas. The old mountain life started to disappear. And when that life disappeared, Silbo Gomero began disappearing with it. For a long time, Silbo was not taught in classrooms. It was passed from parents to children, from shepherds to apprentices, from one generation of islanders to the next. That made it powerful, but it also made it fragile. If the children stopped learning it, the language could vanish in just a few decades. By the late 20th century, Silbo was in real danger. It was becoming the skill of older people, a sound from the past, something tourists might find charming, but young islanders might not need. And this is where La Gomera made a rare decision. Instead of treating Silbo as an old-fashioned embarrassment, the island treated it as a treasure. Since 1999, Silbo Gomero has been taught in schools on La Gomera. Children learn to listen. They learn to place their fingers. They learn to control the sound. And maybe most importantly, they learn that this strange whistle is part of who they are. Not just folklore, not just a performance, a living piece of island identity. In 2009, UNESCO added Silbo Gomero to the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. That sounds like a very official way of saying something simple. The world finally admitted that this whistle mattered. Today, Silbo is understood by much of La Gomera's population, especially because a new generation learned it in school. That is what makes this story so unusual. Many ancient communication systems fade away when phones arrive. Silbo almost did. But then it came back, carrying smartphones in its pocket. A child on La Gomera can learn English, use the internet, scroll social media, and still whistle a message across the mountains like their great-grandparents did. That is not just preservation. That is survival with a plot twist.
And La Gomera is not alone. Around the world, humans have created whistled forms of language again and again. Not because people everywhere randomly decided to sound like birds, but because geography kept asking the same question. How do you talk to someone who is far away when walking there takes too long?
In northern Turkey, there is a village often called Kuzköy, or Bird Village, where people are famous for whistling Turkish across steep valleys. Researchers studying whistled Turkish found something fascinating. When people understand ordinary spoken language, the left side of the brain usually plays the dominant role. But with whistled Turkish, both sides of the brain become more involved. It is language, but it also behaves like music. The brain hears words wrapped in melody. And Turkey is only one example. Whistled speech has been reported in many parts of the world, in mountain regions, in forests, in isolated valleys, in places where the landscape makes ordinary conversation too small. Linguists have documented dozens of whistled languages and traditions, and more than 80 languages have been reported to have some form of whistled speech. That tells us something important. Whistled language is not just a weird local trick. It is a human solution to a geographic problem. When the land spreads people apart, humans stretch language. We turn speech into song. We turn breath into distance. We turn the body into a communication device. And that is why Silbo Gomero feels so strange and so beautiful at the same time. In a world of instant messages, video calls, and satellite internet, the whistlers of La Gomera remind us of something older. Before towers, before cables, before phones, before notifications. Before we had breath, we had ears, we had fingers, and with nothing more than that, we learned to talk across mountains. Silbo Gomero is not just a curiosity, it is a living fossil of human ingenuity. A language sung, not spoken. A sound that almost became a ghost, but returned as a classroom full of children, laughing, practicing, failing, trying again, and sending the old words back into the volcanic valleys. So the next time you hear someone whistle, remember this. Somewhere in the Canary Islands, that sound might not be a tune, it might be a sentence. If you love discovering the world's strangest languages, hidden borders, and everyday systems that make no sense, subscribe to Global Facts and tell us in the comments, if you could whistle one sentence across your neighborhood, what would you say?